Hi, and welcome to Rise, Heal, and Grow. I'm Leah M. Hill. This show is a podcast production of Apollo Sunrise Center, which is a health, wellness, and spiritual retreat center in Merrimack, Massachusetts. On this show, we shine the light on those who nurture wellness and inspire positive change. My guest today is Corrin Bomberger. She is founder of Simple Organizing Solutions, which offers home and business-based organizing solutions. Welcome, Corrin.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you for being here
Thank
today.
you for having
I
me.
am so excited for what we're talking about because I'm someone who, people always say, oh, you're so organized, you're so organized. I make all these lists and I do all these things in my home and in my business, but really I feel like in the background, I am not organized at all. I feel like I've got, a pile of shoes in the closet, clothes in the closet, things that I have to deal with. And so I was hoping you can help us learn a little bit today about some simple organizing solutions and maybe just talking first about how you grew up and how you got into this work.
I've always been organized. I can't really explain it. It's just sort of how I was. My sisters would get yelled at constantly for being a mess and having a messy room, and I just...
But not you.
my bed was made, my room
Wow.
was neat as a pin. It's just sort of how I was.
Wow, that's great. And so just... how did you deal with challenges in your life? I mean, growing up, everybody experienced challenges or traumas and different things, navigating childhood. Did the organizing help you with that at all?
I believe it did. I grew up with a bit of emotional chaos in my house, and you didn't always know who was going to walk through the door. Were they going to be happy? Were they going to be moody? Were they going to be angry? You just never knew.
So sort of like the Jekyll and Hyde thing,
Yes.
I don't know which. Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Very unnerving.
A little.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good home, but
Yeah.
things were going on, and for whatever reason, I I grasped to organization, and I think it helped steady me.
It helped you, yeah. Because you talked about even, your childhood as trying to maybe solve a puzzle, right? You're trying to put together a puzzle, but you don't have the actual picture of what it's going to look like at the end. And I think that's really important for people to have a way to describe it the way that you grew up.
I found out when I was 9 years old that I'm dyslexic.
Oh.
And that was not just chaos in my head because I couldn't read.
Yeah.
I couldn't put the words together. I couldn't figure out the letters. Everything was upside down, backwards. So I spent my childhood, at least in the educational system, unraveling and unjumbling up what everybody else seemed to be able to figure out naturally.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that's what a trauma for someone that young of an age to realize that you couldn't maybe feel like you were keeping up with everybody else, you were feeling different, not good enough, and dealing with all those things. And navigating that kind of emotional, not only the chaos that you mentioned, but like navigating that trauma of the dyslexia and trying to be and fit in and get through school. How did the organizing even help you with that?
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe just naturally I spent my time unjumbling up the world, unjumbling up the words on pages, and just constantly, again, there was a picture there, I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
The picture of the puzzle. So I had to constantly detangle
So it was over
things.
time. Over time. It wasn't like a...
It was, but that was all I knew. So
Yeah.
to me, that was my normal.
I see. So your normal was trying to figure out what's going on in this world and why you're not fitting in. And then trying to find ways to
function in
put
the
it together.
educational system.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, that is a lot. That's like adult things for a child. You know what I'm saying? Like adult things that you had to deal with, but you were just a child. That must have been really tough.
It was, looking back, but at the same time, if that's all you know, then that's all you know.
Right. And let's talk about the topic of neurodivergence, because that's kind of been a sort of, I don't know if it's a hot topic, but more commonly talked about nowadays, that it was something that, we never heard of at all when I was growing up. I didn't even know what it was for, until more recently. But can you talk about what that means, neurodivergence, and what it means for you?
according to studies, it means that we think differently than the average population. With that said, so, maybe somebody's on the spectrum of dyslexia, maybe someone has ADHD, maybe they are like me and they're dyslexic. At the end of the day, I don't think there is anything as non-divergent, and this is just my personal opinion. I think everybody is unique in their own way, and that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Whether you're on the spectrum or you have ADHD or dyslexic, I think that's just who you are.
Yeah,
it's
and
the
I
way
think
you were made.
True, and I think more recently with the diagnoses that are coming out more and more all the time, that I always felt like growing up that now maybe I would have seen people in school or someone that I said, oh wow, geez, now I could see that this person was dyslexic, but we didn't know it, or was on the autism spectrum, but there was no diagnosis for it at the time. But now having this neurodivergence as a thing, in our culture, that I think it helps us with that awareness, because it helps us be more open to all the different types of ways that people process information.
I do agree.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
When I was doing research on dyslexia and ADHD, it was fascinating to see, breaking me down as to why I am this way and why my brain works that way, and the commonalities between the two.
Yeah, and someone like you has been, organizing all of your life, it sounds like, since you were a child. But for those of us who haven't been, is this something that, is this like a skill? Is organizing something you do or you don't have it? What is that like?
I think everyone has the ability to be organized. I think it's, if you have the natural innate talent, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're not going to become an Olympic champion unless you actually work at it.
Right.
And I think organization is one of those things that you have to work at, and you have to put it in your schedule.
Yeah, definitely. And so for your clients, so you work with clients both in the home and at the office to help them organize and also create a system, right? You're creating the systems. Do you also have, some clients that are, neurodivergent as well, or on this? A lot of them. So you find that most of them. Okay. So do you find that you can, maybe relate to them a little better or support them a little better on their journey?
Yes, because I understand how their brain works.
Okay.
Everyone's brain works completely differently, but there are commonalities between them. So my job is to figure out what makes them tick, how they work. Are they visual people? Do they like to have everything tucked away? I ask a lot of questions to understand what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and why.
Yeah, because there's so many barriers to this, not only, for someone like feeling like, oh, I don't have the skills to be organized, or I just can't do it, or I don't think that way, right? But then there's also the societal shame and trauma and emotional barriers that come along with things like clutter and a mess and having a mess in your home. How do you help people with that?
There's a lot involved with shame. In regards to shame, a lot of people think that they made a mistake, but in reality, true shame, you believe you are a mistake. And that's a huge difference.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
That's a huge difference.
Wow.
So in regards to, I'm so sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Oh, sorry. No, that's all right. We were talking about like how shame, the energy of shame comes into play with people's clutter, because there's so much about it. Like, I can think, like I gave the example of all my shoes at the bottom of the closet. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't want to like invite people into my home and show them the shoes in my closet because it's a mess. But for people who, but I'm still fine with having people in my home. But for people who are like on that other end of the scale, that are like, feel like their whole life is disorganized, and there's so much shame around that. Like that was so profound what you said, that it's not just about shame of the clutter, it's about the shame of who you are.
You didn't make a mistake, you are a mistake, and that's what people believe.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that's huge.
Yes.
I also believe we're all a hot mess. Everyone's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your closet, maybe it's your car, maybe it's your finances. We are all a hot mess in some regard. Maybe it's your relationship with your family. So to assume that just because you're organized in one aspect of your life, doesn't mean that there isn't something going on over there that you don't want someone else to see or know about.
Yeah, that's really important, I think for people to hear.
And it levels the playing field.
Right.
Because a lot of people that struggle with tangible organization or time organization, time management, they just put themselves, they feel so low. And we're all slightly dysfunctional in some aspect of our life.
Because what we want to, what we want to show the world on our websites and our social media is that we're, everything's great. We're living this great life. We're enjoying our success and our work and our home and our family. And those are the pictures that we're putting out there on the world. But it doesn't mean that we're a failure if it doesn't look like that at home or in the office. Yeah. If that's what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
So I think that's important for people to hear, because there is, not just about the shame, but the trauma of it too. If they've had an experience where maybe somebody said something to them, or someone came in their house and said, "Oh my gosh, this is a pigsty," or whatever, and it's different when, like, we were kids and that's what our parents would come into the room and say, "Oh, this is a pigsty, you got to clean this up before you go out." Okay, that's one thing. But it's different when it's now we're adults and we can't even walk through our house.
But who's to say it's a pigsty?
I
mean, who's to say it?
Point.
So I'm a very visual person. I need to have things out. Although I'm organized, I have stuff all over my office floor so that I can see it. Because once I put it away, it doesn't exist. And that's something that a lot of my clients struggle with. So finding a way to make it that it's organized and out, but neat.
That is
very, very important.
That is really important, yes. Because someone like me would just put things in the file in the drawer and put it away, but I would know where it is.
And you'll forget about it.
But someone who has that different processing like you do needs to see it out in the open.
I have to have it out.
Otherwise, you're going to forget about it, forget that it's there.
Yeah. My husband's office desk looks like this. There is nothing on it. My desk does not look like
It does not look like that.
But I know where everything is. And it functions for me. And at the end of the day, that's what matters for my clients. It needs to function for them, their family, their office. It needs to function for everyone. And it may not look the same for everyone, but that's okay as long as it works.
Yeah. And I just think that's so important for people to hear and know, because they might be sitting there listening or watching to the show and feeling like a complete failure with lots of shame about who they are, or experiencing some trauma about, someone saying something about their clutter or about the way their desk looks or their office looks or something, and to really feel like, no, it's just you have to find the right way for you.
You do.
Wow. And so to help people from, navigate this transition from feeling like maybe they're broken or they're a failure to something that says, okay, I just need a system that works for me. Is there a process that you go through with your clients?
Yes.
Okay.
First, I declutter. You really do need to get rid of what isn't serving you.
Decluttering is first step.
That's the first step. You can't, and maybe there isn't much to declutter, but at some point we can go through and categorize things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are overwhelmed by the thought of decluttering, but I'll break it into very small chunks so that's not so overwhelming. So instead of going through all the shoes at once, we'll put all the white tennis shoes together. We'll put all the colorful tennis shoes. We'll put the black pumps together.
That's
we'll put
helpful.
the colorful pumps together. That way, you're only concentrating on a very small part. You're not looking at this mountain of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's helpful. Definitely helpful, because sometimes just, I imagine this is with some of your clients too, just the act of letting you into their home can be traumatizing and even harder than the actual decluttering itself.
Yes.
Of just having you in their home. So is there something that you do when you know that, if someone's like, I really don't want you to come in, but I need you and I want you here, but I'm, ashamed or not feeling, is there anything that you do to help them feel better?
I tell them that everyone's a hot mess.
Yeah.
Because we are.
Make them feel better,
We really are.
Yeah.
Everyone's a hot mess in some aspect of their life. And I'll give them examples. And a lot of times they'll say, this must be the worst house or business you've ever been into. And I always laugh because it never is.
Oh, see, that's the thing, is
It
everyone
isn't.
thin's they're
in
the
their
worst.
Head, they think they're the worst, but they might just have a few things on the floor and they're just so embarrassed and ashamed. And it's mostly, I think it's mostly in their head of just how awful it is, because it's never that bad.
Right, because
really
we have
isn't.
these high standards for ourselves of what we think we should be projecting out into the world.
Yeah.
But there is a real cost to this disorganization too. Can you talk more about that?
My clients have lost thousands of dollars, some of them in some cases millions of dollars, because they have not been organized, whether it's on the front end or the back end.
Okay.
The best example I can give is with a business. So on average, businesses lose 25 to 35% of potential profit annually. I've looked for home stats, but I can't find it. So that's according to Forbes.com.
So that's because of disorganization?
Disorganization.
Oh my goodness.
Businesses don't go out of business because they don't provide a good service or they don't provide a good product. More often than not, it's because they're disorganized.
Oh my gosh.
So they're either
That's
losing
huge.
money on the front end due to a poor client experience, or the back end.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a restaurant and the milk keeps going bad and they're losing money that way.
Right.
With that said, something very similar happens in homes. So I can't tell you how many times I've been in a home and a client is like, I just bought this. And we'll find 7 of them.
Oh my goodness.
And sometimes it's paper towels and sometimes it's a computer keyboard, sometimes it's a computer. It's the waste is astronomical.
Right. Because you're not only wasting your money, especially when you're buying number 7 of the same thing that you've already bought, but also your time, which is so valuable.
Time to find it, time to pick it up, time to order it online, time to take it back, whatever that looks like, it's very, very time consuming.
Yeah. And so can you share how buying these duplicates, or maybe, you know, the intention of returning the item that they didn't want or didn't fit, and then they never do, like I'm guilty of all that too, and also like just losing things, like how that affects us, you know, our mentality and our time in our lives?
First and foremost, it affects your bank account.
Yeah, okay.
My clients are bleeding money. Not mine, but everyone on average is bleeding money because of things that they're buying that they don't need, they already have, or they don't have the time to return. So I've seen clients lose thousands of dollars. I mean, I'll take bags and bags of clothes that still have all their tags on.
Oh my
that have never been.
I know. And then you think about all that money.
Think about all that money and all that time that they spent to buy it.
Yeah. And going back to the idea that, you know, some of us feel like, you know, in this part of our life, everything's organized and we're great, but the other part is that hot mess that you were talking about. So what is it about that that's important for people to embrace about that?
We only have 2 currencies in life, time and money.
Just the time and money.
You can make more money, but you can't make more time.
Important to know.
And I think time is important because you never know how much of it you have with you, whether it's you or with someone else.
Mm-hmm. And how does this work, you know, for you? You talked about like in your home. So especially when you don't live alone, when you have to live with others, right? So like you just gave the example of you and your husband's desk is clean and yours has all these things on it, but you're organized. But how does that work for some of your clients that like live with people, like you said, like the kid that's, you know, got the messy room or something? How can they navigate that?
I recommend to my clients to cater the home and curate it towards the messiest person in the house.
Oh, interesting.
Because everyone else can adjust and modify, but the messiest person will really struggle with it. And maybe it's because there's something going on, whether they're neurodivergent or it's an emotional issue. Right. And I hate to say cater to the squeaky wheel, but at the same time, I think it's important that, you know, this is maybe a bad analogy, but wolves, the elderly set the pace. And when the wolf pack is traveling, the elderly set the pace, and the strongest ones, the leaders, hang in the back. So the one that's struggling the most is the one that the rest of the herd.
I think that's a good example. I get that.
And I think, and maybe the others can help the one that's struggling the most over time, but you've got to meet them where they are. The one that's struggling the most, and I would say with my clients, you meet them where they are. You can't say you need to be here. You have to say, if this is where you are, then let's start here, and then we can build up.
Okay. Yeah, that's important to know because you probably have to, you know, find ways to connect with people on that, especially if there's some resistance. Like you said, there's these emotional issues as well and these experiences that may have caused that. I mean, I'm thinking of the that show, the Hoarder show that has been on for a while. And I've watched a few episodes, and they're typically about the emotional issues and what changed in their life. Maybe there was a lot of death in their family or their loved ones passed away, and then people get stuck and they can't move on from it.
Generational trauma is one of the leading causes that trigger my clients.
Really?
So, yes.
Oh, wow.
So I learn, I am an organizer, but I am also a therapist.
Yes,
Not
I
legally,
imagine.
not
Yeah, but I
according to the
imagine
medical
you
board,
have
but
to.
I'm very
Yeah.
much a therapist.
Right, to help people see that.
And as we're going
Right.
through their things and their emotions come out, tears, anger, shame, frustration, I hear it all.
Right.
And it's interesting, and once I understand why they are the way they are, it makes a lot more sense. And you can't judge. There's no room for it, because you don't know what the other person has been walking through.
Well, I think that's the bigger fear too, is the judgment from, maybe not from you, but from other people as well. But, and is there a way that you can maybe help people that are struggling with this identify their strengths and just say, okay, so like your example of this is how I think, so this is the system that works best for me. Like, is there a way that you can bring that out to give people a little bit of confidence, maybe?
I do the best I can, and clearing out things and letting people see what they really treasure and letting them find those again and bring them out. But I also remind them, not everybody's great at everything, and it's okay to hire people. I am not a mechanic. I cannot fix my car. Right. It's okay that I hire someone to do that for me.
Yeah.
So where you can't hire when possible, or bring a friend on.
Yeah. And so what is it like? I don't know if can you share maybe some transformational stories or success stories of like what it's like when you've worked with maybe a family and they've followed your system, and then they've seen, maybe their lives change or their emotions change. What have you seen?
I love this story. I was working with an interior design firm, and they hadn't organized anything in 15 years. And
Nothing.
Oh, they just kept accumulating samples, and they finally brought me in. And they'd had other people, interns, try to organize their samples, but it wasn't working. So they brought me in. I overhauled the whole place.
Wow.
And when I finished, the designer, the owner, one of the co-owners of the company said, "I tell everybody you changed my life." And I thought,
oh my gosh,
that's such a nice thing for someone to say. And then she wrote me a review and said, "You made me millions of dollars."
Oh my goodness.
And that company was losing millions because things were just so disorganized, and they had a hard time pulling projects together, so they were losing bids, and
oh my
it was
gosh.
incredible.
That's so powerful.
It's one of my favorite stories.
Yes.
And they were great clients. They were so much fun.
Yes. Well, and a perfect example of, talking about how expensive your own time is. It's not just the money you spend, it's your time. And when you're in it like that, running a business, as a small business owner myself, I've got a million things going on. I'm in it. It's so hard for me to see where I'm disorganized, because I'm in it. And to think about that, to have someone like you come in and with a different perspective and say, let's see what we can shift right now to put into place.
Yeah, and they still maintain it the way it was
and
set
they
up.
Still maintain
They
it.
do.
That's the best testimonial right there.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. That's great. So, once we get into this, this process of the decluttering and dealing with all the emotions around it, there's so much, not only the shame, but the guilt, I imagine, too, about that I let this happen. How can people forgive themselves, or is there a process there that you help people with?
I do. One of the things I recommend to my clients is look at your credit card statement every month.
Oh, well, that's a pretty clear way to see. Yeah.
I had one client that hadn't really looked at his credit card statement in 3 years and was moving and finally looked at it and realized he canceled something 3 years ago. And he was still being charged for it 3 years later.
Oh, no.
Because he just didn't catch it.
Yeah.
He just assumed it was done. So just paying attention, being mindful of your finances, and mindful of the stuff you're bringing in. If you just bought a case of toothpaste from Costco, which is great, you probably have 75 of them now. Maybe you don't need to buy another 12.
Yeah, and maybe not all at once.
Or
like
all
that.
at once,
Yeah.
yes. I do believe it's important to buy. Buying in bulk isn't always a good thing.
Okay. So do you more maybe sometimes recommend that people do subscription kind of things to get something, on a regular basis? If there's something that they use a lot?
One of the things I recommend to my clients is if you have a linen closet, place everything in the linen closet, and that can be your backstock. So I have one client, and she has 4 kids, and that is where they shop from, is that one closet.
Oh, they shop
from that closet, and then they filter
closet.
things into their bedroom, when they're out of shampoo, when they're out of toothpaste, things like that. So if it's out in the linen closet, if there's no more, then it gets added to the list that they all share online with their computers. But I do also recommend the Skylight.
The Skylight.
So it's called Skylight. It's a calendar.
Okay.
It's a calendar that families can share. So you can put notes on there. You can say, little Joey's got soccer today, so if the time gets changed, just kind of helping people manage their time.
I haven't been familiar with that. Okay.
Oh, it's a great product, yeah.
That sounds really good. But I love the idea of putting everything in the one closet in one place. So so you're not like running around trying to find, big thing in my house is reading glasses. Oh my God, how many pairs of reading glasses do I need? But I never find them when I need them because I'm like, I just had them. Where did they go? I had like 3 pairs of reading glasses and, sometimes they're on my head. But, still it's like having everything in one place.
Figuring out what works for you. So not necessarily, but in regards to, kind of having a place where you can shop. We only ever had one pair of scissors in my house. It drove me nuts. And, I went to one client and she had a professional organizer and the organizer said, let's put all the scissors in a mug and keep them on your desk. And I said, that would never work for me. And she goes, it drives me nuts. I have scissors in my junk drawer. I have scissors in my office drawer. I have scissors in my sock drawer because when you come home, get new clothes, you
the tags,
thingies.
You're right.
So I have scissors in the wrapping station.
Right.
If it works for you, it works.
Yeah, thinking about the placement of it as well. So I'm also thinking about, I'm sure you've probably read the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo.
I have read that.
Yeah, so that was very popular. It had kind of a thing for a while about a system of tidying up your life. A lot of it was organizing, but it was also more than that. It's more about like what you're talking about, like designating the right place for the right things. What's your theory on that, on kind of like that system of, because one of the things she talks about, for example, is not doing it by room, not going room by room, but doing it by category when you do your decluttering. What do you think?
That's a process that I do use, and I said it with the shoes. So instead of putting all the shoes together, I break it down the next step and make it into an even smaller category so it's less overwhelming.
So you take it a step further.
I do. Just because when you think of, if you're going to go through all your kids' toys, that's a lot. But if you break it and say, well, these are the trucks and these are the cars and these are the Legos, it's just a lot easier for them to process it, and it makes it less overwhelming than dumping it all and saying, all right, what do you want?
Right. And how long does this process take sometimes for people? Is it, like you start on day one and they're into it for a few months? Like, what is it like?
That depends, and honestly, every client is different.
Everybody's different.
They truly are. Because at some clients, they'll say, let me tell you about this mug. I got this mug, and some people are like, nope, get it out. And it's great. But some people, particularly ones that are elderly and children, they like to tell you why they like their toys.
The story behind it. Yeah.
The story behind it.
Yep.
So that's, it does. It differs wildly. And I can do my best to keep them on track, but some people really need to say goodbye to their belongings.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you shared some really good practical tips that I love. I'm going to incorporate too when I get home. But what if someone, watching or listening is just like so overwhelmed that doesn't know where to start? Do you have any advice for someone who just says, like, I don't even know, where to begin? Like, my house is a mess, my life is a mess, my work is a mess. What do I do?
Well, those are all very different categories, but most people struggle with the tangible tangible mess that's in their home or their office. So one thing that I recommend is get a bunch of bins or baskets. Probably best to start out with paper bags or baskets.
Okay.
And just, if you go into your kitchen, if it doesn't belong in your kitchen, put it in the bag. Go into your family room. If it doesn't belong in your family room, put it in the bag.
I see.
If it doesn't belong in your dining room, put it in the bag, and then spread it all out and figure out what room it goes into. And the things that belong in the dining room go in there. The things that are wrong, and then you can just start. That way, everything is in the room that it's at least supposed to be in.
Right, which makes it a little easier to find things too.
And
when
it
you're
does.
trying to find these things, yes.
Because if
to be
you're
in the right room.
if you're organizing all these things and you don't realize that you have 5 different coats that are in the downstairs basement closet, and now you have to make room for them in the upstairs foyer, it's not going to fit, and you don't know what you're working with. So if you have an idea of what you're working with, it's an easier place to start.
That's really good advice.
Thank you.
I love that, because all of us have like some bags or baskets in our house that we can start with and just start looking at things.
We all have Amazon boxes somewhere in the house.
Oh, yes, we do. Many of them.
Many of them. I see them
piling up. Yes, I'm sure. So this has been so helpful, Corrin. Thank you so much for joining me today. So before we leave, though, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to find you and how to connect with you.
Best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Simple Organizing Solutions _SOS.
Perfect. Great.
And you can go to my website as well, which is simpleorganizingsolutions.net.
So we can reach out to you there.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, all of you, for watching or listening to Rise, Heal, and Grow with Leah M. Hill here today. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe on whichever platform you're joining us on. And join us again soon, because we have lots more episodes coming up.